So this man tried to refill my coffee on the first date in New York, and honestly, that's the most boring part of the story. Get comfortable, because this is part 1 of Who the F Was This Man? Quick note, I am going to be very honest, even though this story makes me look incredibly stupid. So I've dated every single red flag in the tri-state area, so I thought I could spot them. But I didn't get fooled by a criminal mastermind. I got fooled because I'm just so desperate to be chosen. So, we met on Hinge. He was athletic, he had a real career, he was a lawyer, he spoke kindly about his exes, he laughed at my hyper-specific dark jokes, so he was a catch. So, 2 weeks of textbook perfect texting. He picks a spot, a coffee shop at a Lower East Side. He sends an Uber to pick me up. Obviously, I didn't give him my real address. When I walk in, he looks better than his pictures. He stands up, he smiles, and he pulls out a chair for me like a real gentleman. We talk for 20, 25 minutes. Everything is perfect. The conversation is flowing. It's fun. It's easy. I'm like, I met my match. And then he smiles and asks me for something so mundane that it almost cost me my life. Who the F was this man? Honestly, I thought I knew. But yeah, follow for part 2. A complete stranger saved me from getting drugged on my first date in New York by throwing an entire glass of her iced coffee all over my brand new dress. This is part 2 of Who the F Was This Man? And if you're dating in New York, maybe share this with your girlies so you learn from my mistakes and stay safe. We were 20 minutes into our Hinge date when he looks at me, smiles, and says, "Could you maybe please go and ask the waitress for a paper menu? I just really don't like these QR code ones. I don't know why we're switching to them." And I was so into playing it cool and low maintenance that I just sprinted to the waitress. Obviously, she tells me no, they don't have printed menus because they have QR code ones. And that's when I actually think that he told me that this is his favorite coffee shop. How did he not know that they don't have printed menus? But I tell myself that I'm overthinking it, and I'm walking back to the table, and that's when this girl jumps up from her seat and throws her entire iced coffee all over me. She's like, "I'm so sorry, let's go to the bathroom, I'll help you." And she's pretty much just pushing me to the bathroom. As soon as the door closes, she changes and she says, "I did that on purpose." That's when I met Monica. She's saying, "Don't drink that. When you were turned around, I saw him lean over the table and I think he poured something into your coffee." Honestly, I didn't really believe her. I thought she just was one of those girlies. And I'm thinking, ma'am, this doesn't happen. This doesn't happen to me, at least. Not on a Tuesday afternoon over some overpriced coffee. Before I walk out of the bathroom, she shoves her card to me and says, "Please text me." So I walk back to the table, and instead of him being concerned for me and asking me if I'm okay, he turns to her and just starts yelling at her. Just this hollow rage. And that second I realized that I'd never seen his real face right up until then. She runs out of the coffee shop. I sit down because I'm just trying to get my bearings and my bag that was left at the table. But I know I need to get out. So yeah, I'm just like, "I'm so sorry, I'm having such a good time, but I'm wet and I'm dirty and I want to go home." And he doesn't want me to go home. He wants me to stay. And he's kind of pushing this coffee towards me. But I apologize and I run out and I go several streets over. I call an Uber. I get into an Uber. I'm asking myself, who the F was this man? So I get into the Uber. My hands are shaking. I'm thinking, did this man actually just try to roofie me? And I message Monica. She gets back to me right away saying, "I am so sorry. That's my best friend's boyfriend." This is part 3 of Who the F Was This Man? Monica, the woman who threw coffee all over me, potentially saving me from getting drugged, said that she came into that cafe to catch him cheating, since her best friend was getting sus over his weird behavior or whatever. She didn't go into that many details, and honestly, I didn't really care. And before all of you write to me in the comments asking, why didn't I go straight to the police? I'll ask you back, with what proof? A chick telling cops that her best friend's boyfriend leaned over her cup doesn't really sound like a crime or proof. It just sounds like a weird date and a weird dude. While I'm in the Uber, I'm actually getting really scared and I'm freaking out, and I can feel my nervous system going into like this full-on shock. I'm hyperventilating, I'm crying, so I go into my favorite app and I do some box breathing, and I write out my like anxious spiral of thoughts into this AI chatbot, and it kind of helps me enough to get my hands to stop trembling so I can call my best friend Sue. She can find anything about everyone. And now I ask her to check the guys before I go to see them, not after shit like this. So in under 4 minutes before my Uber ride even finished, she found him in the Are We Dating the Same Guy NYC Facebook group. She also found 5 other women, and it's the same pattern. Same 2 weeks of texting, same Lower East Side spots, same printed menu trick. You'd think the guy would be more creative, because it's honestly a bad trick. I did fall for it, and so did 3 other girls. Thankfully, only one of them had a really bad experience. I'm not going to go into too many details, it's not my story to tell. And while I was, reading everything and trying to wrap my head around what just happened, my phone lights up from his text. And he says, "I had such a great time. Can I see you again tomorrow?" And unfortunately, my answer was yes. Part 4 is live soon. So my date who tried to drug my coffee just half an hour earlier texted, "Can I see you tomorrow?" Like nothing happened. This is part 4 of Who the F Was This Man? This is the part of the story that I'm not that eager to share because it makes me look really bad. I'll be honest, I didn't feel scared. And I would love to tell you that I felt this deep solidarity with these other women. I didn't. I was furious, mainly at myself. Because remember the thing I told you in like the first video? I don't get fooled. I see a red flag a mile away and I choose to date them. I just gotten played the same pretty stupid way like all these other girls. Like I wasn't special. I went to therapy since then, so I'm joking because I'm ashamed about my behavior, to be honest. So that's why I decided that I was gonna go back to see him again. I didn't care about justice. I didn't care about other girls who could be in danger. I just wanted a rematch. I wanted to sit across from him with Stu tracking my phone from the bar across the street, knowing everything he thought I didn't know, just so I could win. Looking back, it was pure delusion. I was so desperate to be chosen. I was so desperate to not be like other girls that I was ready to put myself in danger not once, but twice. So the next morning, I was sitting on my bed, ready to execute my plan, texting Sue, thinking what I'm gonna wear. I message him saying, "See you at 7, can't wait," or something along the lines. I hit send, the text, the ticks happen, and then his profile picture vanishes. I click, and it just says, "User not found." He hadn't just blocked me. He knew. I had no idea who the F was this man, but he knew I was onto him. He had blocked me everywhere right before our second date. This is part 5 of Who the F Was This Man? He blocked me on Instagram where we were messaging, he blocked me on Hinge where we matched. Even the phone number he gave me was disconnected. Just gone, like he never existed. If not for Monica and my friend Sue and, 5 other victims, I honestly would have thought that I made him up. To this day, I have no idea how he knew we were onto him. Maybe he found another victim. Maybe I said yes too eagerly to the second date. I don't know. The first thing I felt was relief. But then once I had some time to sit and think about it, honestly, I felt terror and shame. Because it finally hit me that wherever he went, he just probably moved on to the next girl and now she was in danger. And I've done nothing to prevent it. Because all we had was his fake name, his photos, and 5 women who he tricked. Because, no crime was technically committed against me. There was no proof that he's done it, and the other women weren't too eager to do anything about it. No judgment there. I haven't done much either. You know what? Monica didn't save me from him that night. She actually saved me from myself. Because if she hadn't stood up, I'd have drunk that coffee. Not because I'm just stupid or careless, but because I wanted him to be real so badly. I wanted to be chosen by him so badly that I would have swallowed whatever he handed to me just so he would like me. He was a predator. for sure, but I was an easy prey. My desperation and my unhealthy patterns were the reasons I walked out of that bathroom and thought that she was crazy. Like, no red flags. I didn't notice none of them until it was almost too late. It was all that desperate need to be picked. And that's when I finally thought that I don't think any man can fix that feeling for me. It's been several years since this whole story, and I've been to therapy, and I honestly, until recently, never thought about it again. And I have not heard about him again. Nothing came up that looks like could be continuation of the story. I've checked. I just keep wondering, who was this man? Because I still couldn't tell you one true thing about him. But it was that experience after which I finally started to notice my unhealthy patterns that put me in this danger. Which, if you're new here, that's exactly what I'm doing on my page. I'm doing this whole detoxing from men thing because I didn't learn from this experience, so I'm hoping that I'm gonna learn now.